What's up, whiskey lovers? I'm the Malt activist and welcome to yet another whiskey review. Now, some of you may know that last week I posted a video where I wanted your input on which whiskeys to taste, and there were some really different and varied requests, which is amazing. So now at least that takes the pressure off of me to try and figure out which whiskey to review, since you've already told me which ones you want, and so that makes my job so much more easier. So the first whiskey that I'm going to review was requested by my extremely good friend Welsh Toro. I have to tell you something about WT. He's been such a devout supporter of my channel, even back in the day when I just did a few videos and then I sort of left them and I didn't do anything after that. He's the one who encouraged me to get back and make more videos. He's always there commenting, sharing his insights, and he's played such a massive role in promoting my channel amongst his group of friends, and for that all I can say is thank you so much. I hope at some point in the very near future we can meet up and have a dram together. It's on me, and that's my promise to you. So thank you, Welsh Toro. This review is dedicated specially to you. Now, what he wanted was for me to review this GLENUGIE 1977. Now, I've had this whiskey with me for about 5 odd years, and I remember it was brought to one of our whiskey club tastings, and there was a little bit left, which I said, okay, let me take it with me, and I liked it so much that I ended up buying another bottle from the duty free. Luckily, they weren't very expensive at that time. I think just in dollar terms, maybe under $300 for this 1977 single cask bottling of a closed distillery. That's right. This distillery doesn't exist. It got mothballed sometime around the late 80s when the demand for single malt fell, and then it was demolished. It's over. It doesn't exist anymore. And so you have these French independent bottlers called Pas d'Anges, and they came out with a series called Closed Distilleries, and this GLENUGIE single cask 1977 29-year-old whiskey, bottled in 2006, was available at the duty free for under $300, and this is not more than 5 or 6 years ago. Can you believe that? I can't believe that. That is absolutely insane. If something like this is available now, it's probably like $2,000-$3,000. Wow. The world's crazy, but I'm glad I have a bit left that I can share some tasting notes with Welsh Toro for this one. There you go. It's quite nice. Now, there's almost absolutely no literature on this whiskey. I've really tried to look it up specifically for this particular bottle. So essentially everything that I say is just a guess, really. This is what I think. I think this is, even though it says single cask, I think it's a re-rack, and I think it started life as in a second fill bourbon barrel, and then maybe in the last 3 or 4 years was re-racked into a second fill sherry cask. Because I get notes that are both from bourbon barrels as well as sherry casks, but the color doesn't look like it's matured its entire 29 years in a sherry cask. But it has sherry notes. So that's my only conclusion that I can draw from just the color and of course you'll see from the notes. So this is bottled at 49.6%. Non-chill filtered at natural cask strength, so you can see that fair amount of Angel's share brought the strength of the whiskey down. I think if they bottled it any later, like 4 or 5 years later, this would have fallen below 40%. It's already at 49. Ah, wow. Man, there's something about old school whiskeys, not because they're old school, but there was something different in the air. There was something different in the water. There was something different in the touch There was something different. There was something different in the barley, something different in the yeast. I don't know what it is, but there's a certain old school charm that only old school whiskeys have, that older whiskeys have. The new whiskeys don't have that. They don't have that X factor. I don't even know what to call it. Yes, there are some really good new whiskeys. When I say new whiskeys, whiskeys that are 15, 16 years old and made, after the 2000s, what have you. But whiskeys that were distilled and produced in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, there's a certain charm to them. There's a certain je ne sais quoi, if you like, that those whiskeys bring with them. And I can immediately taste them and immediately knows them. I just don't know what it is. If we crack that, then we're sorted, right? That means we can just then be drinking old school whiskeys all the time if we just knew how it was done. But I don't think we'll ever find out. And I think it's just because there's a certain intangible. And I'm lucky enough to have a glass with me on hand right now. Such a lovely, deep, rich nose. There's chocolate, there's honey, there's tobacco, there's lots of toffee, oak. I get hints of coffee as well, like a frappuccino. Like I said, there's some old school sherry involved in here. Once you let it breathe, it mellows out nicely. It becomes more lemony, more rock salt, some cherries, and that lingering sherry is back. So yeah, I'm kind of convinced that it's seen both maturations, both bourbon and sherry. I have no idea about the type of cask or the duration, but I think I'm fairly confident. I have no way to validate that, but I guess you just have to take my word for it. Good nose. Good. I can feel the 49.6%. It's nice. It's not overpowering or overbearing. This dark honey, the cherry is back with the chocolate and the coffee beans. There's a hint of something minty. Wow. Good mouthfeel, good body. I like that it sort of coats my tongue beautifully. It sits there. The finish is nice and long. A touch of wood. And again, that mintiness, that eucalyptus type profile is back as well. Lip smacking. Yeah. Wow. Yes, so yes, 100%, definitely a very, very, very good dram. And one thing that I can't do here now is let it sit for half an hour, 1 hour. And believe me, it morphs into a completely different animal. It becomes better, I think, in my opinion. So if you do get your hands on this particular bottle, my advice is to pour yourself a dram, leave that aside for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then have one straight out of the bottle, and then go back to the one that you've left, and you'll see such a massive difference. But in a good way, it evolves. And again, so much complexity in old school spirit that we can't find today, which is such a shame, really. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this review. Welsh Toro, I hope you enjoyed this review and it gave you something to chew on. I have some of it still left in here, and I'll save that for you, hoping that we can meet at some point very soon, and that'll be my gift to you. A GLENUGIE from 1977. So thank you for joining me for this whiskey review. I'm the Malt Activist. Until next time, peace.